There's going to be pushback. Sagittarius, Black Moon, Lilith. There's beliefs. There's beliefs for 9 months that you're going to have to learn to get comfortable with in yourself, that you're going to have to learn to accept in yourself. There are raw beliefs that you have suppressed about how the themes, actions, behaviors, convictions, expressions of your Sagittarius house placement is supposed to be according to what you suffered to realize. And you're going to have to learn to deal with the pushback and rejection, the challenges. Somebody's not going to like it. Somebody's not going to agree with it. Somebody's going to think you're absolutely crazy. You make no sense. You need to do something safer. You need to do something more predictable. You need to do something more stable. You need to do something more traditional. But that's not what we're here to do right now. The outer bounds Pluto is going to help you to make that demonstration without flinching. Because right now you still got some bitch assness in you. But Pluto's going to take that last drop of bitch assness out of you so you can do it. Innovation is here. Innovation. And the belief has to be embodied. Regardless of who approves or not. You're here to demonstrate that which you believe, to embody that which you believe. Not argue, going back and forth, explaining yourself. Nope. Do it. Do what you see should be done. And I'm here to tell you now, these are things that people will call strange. Why can't you just have one wife? Why you gotta have 2 or 3 wives? Why couldn't you go in corporate America and do that thing that you're so good at doing? Why you gotta travel all over the world and create all these different ways of sowing what you call freedom for yourself? Why can't you stay here in this situation where it's stable for you, it's comfortable, it's safe? Why you got to go out there and test your luck, take chances with this and take chances with that? We're Japanese. You know it's our tradition that you're supposed to marry a Japanese person. Why you go over there and marry that Puerto Rican person? Why you go marry that Indian person? You're going to disturb some people. Set your intentions now. When you put Sagittarius, Black Moon, Lilith transit together with the meaning of Capricorn, Stellium, especially in the new moon phase, the equivalent is Aquarius because of the intention. It's about reapproaching the definition of insanity in order to find an innovative way out of the loop of that definition in futility. When the stellium in Capricorn transits into Aquarius, conjuncting Pluto, the story of your life kicks off to start expressing the innovative revelation that you are meant to embody. And it's going to be through the house that Pluto resides in transit. You want to look at that for those insights. This has to be a separate innovation because Black Moon Lilith in Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius combined with the long-term strategy of Capricorn Stellium, interpersonal planets, it's the equivalent. It's the equivalent to Aquarius. The difference is that the Aquarian value of Sagittarius and Capricorn transits is personal. That's informed by the body. It's conformed by conviction. It's conformed by hot truth. That's the inner ring of Saturn. Consideration of the outer ring of Saturn, Aquarius. It has to do with how this is reflected and how you approach relationships and the expression of yourself through civics, through community, through society, at the 11th house, and what you realize you're there to offer and what role you're going to play among the people as a servant to the people. So these are separate manifestations of Aquarius. Inner ring Saturn, outer ring Saturn. Understand, this is something that you probably want to get with me on so that you can get personal notes and how this applies to you. There is a lot to be covered in these transits. Let's test and examine our hearts. When was the last time that you cried for someone who doesn't look like you, for someone who's not from your demographic, for a perfect stranger? When was the last time you got angry for an injustice that you seen a perfect stranger suffer? And closer than that, when was the last time that you cried or got angry for someone you love? Someone of your home, of your household, your family, your community. When was the last time? I tell you now, until this is the case, we are still corrupt. Until we could cry for a perfect stranger, until we can get angry for a perfect stranger, we are still corrupt. This is a time for adjustment towards the long term. And in opposition to the Capricorn stellium is Cancer. Cancer rules the 4th house. It's where our emotional security is supposed to be, advocacy, comfort and care. Intimate connections. It's where we're supposed to be able to stand in vulnerable space. It's where we're not supposed to have enemies. We all know that's not always the case. However, there's a silent crisis in America. A silent crisis. And it has a lot to do with having to let go of designs and infrastructure or physical security that are no longer realistic or in alignment with the current economy. Uranus is at Taurus, proposing reconsiderations toward the future based on past agreements that no longer have clarity in the present crisis. What this looks like is foreclosures, evictions, car repossessions, change in status of the critical components of infrastructure in one's life. The stellium that will pass Pluto in Aquarius could bring the final reality to many people of inevitable changes that have to be made in relationships that manifest the outcome of cancer expansion, security, and care through people. The stellium in Capricorn has us to contemplate that through our own personal power, decision, capacity, and foresight. What must be done realistically? What is a realistic outlook
the safe way that we can help to
of what has to change in my status?
So it's actually
Is there a limitation to the capacity of duties and responsibilities that I'm in position to fulfill of myself? And that goes back to the 10th house. With that being said, it rises to how we approach relationships innovatively. Because the limitations of yourself, second house, in the esteem of the self, the resources of the self, the resourcefulness of the self, when we extend that out to others in order to make up for or compensate for the limitations that we have in that, it goes to the 8th house. And 8th house reflects relationships outside of your localities. Aquarius. So through Aquarius, this has us to consider innovative approaches to relationships that solves this dilemma, this crisis, while also maintaining authenticity in our being. So during the transition of the stellium from Capricorn into Aquarius, you are going to find that many people are changing living situations, rethinking agreements or disagreements, connecting or reconnecting, negotiating or contracting agreements in domestic circumstances of what's possible to move forward, what's realistic to move forward. What this is going to end up doing, it's going to condense the society. What do I mean by condense the society? Society becomes poly. I'm not talking about polymarriage or polygamy. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the standard becomes co-op living. Even though in most cases we see that common, but more so will we see that now. And this doesn't exclude, of course, poly relationships. I've been telling you all that. I've been talking about that. I don't talk about it often, but I definitely went over it enough times that it should be a consideration for some people for many reasons. What is supposed to be your innovative approach? Considering your house of Aquarius in your natal chart, where are you supposed to bring an innovative approach, an unorthodox, eccentric approach as a solution, according to your testimony at the 12th house? Through your Aquarius placement, you're answering your 12th house crisis by embodying truth, which expresses love through innovation. Understand that. You're also showing a forward direction in Chiron and what Chiron has to teach through exemplification. For this reason, do not betray your testimony. Do not betray your witnessing. It's unique to you. You had to suffer to arrive at your innovative contribution through Aquarius. The new moon Capricorn, as well as the transiting Capricorn stellium, it's about incorporation of the Sagittarius Black Moon Lilith impulse, the raw truth of the self, into the infrastructure of your lifestyle, into the foundations of your lifestyle. All of the critical areas of your life should reflect your testimony. It should speak of your testimony. It should explain a way of what you suffered to learn and understand about yourself, about life, and about what is true to you through conviction of beliefs. That's very important to understand. In comparison, the stellium is headed to Aquarius next, and what that's about is incorporating that same conviction into how you're relating with society, how you're relating to other people, how you're relating to all people, how you're relating to the culture, standards, and norms of society, allowing yourself to innovate the way that you show up, to not attempt to control others, not attempt to bring argument, conflict, and rejection of others, but to bring your demonstration, to bring your example, to bring your influence, to bring the wisdom that you extracted from all of your experiences. It becomes your contribution and your service just through living truthfully, living authentically. And the Aquarius aspects helps your social life to reflect that, and your attitude about society to be reflected in that. And you become a revelation for all of society and for all of those who you come in contact with. You also become an answer to the demand of necessity that you will find in every environment that you connect with, where there are people, culture, standards, and societal norms, where you may represent a new option. Considering the house where this is at is everything. Considering the house. So, house placement of Sagittarius, house placement of Capricorn, house placement of Aquarius. It's important to know. It's important to consider because you want to know where you can be intentional about the differences in these energies and what your role is. At your Aquarius placement, you're in the future. Everybody else has to catch up. Accept it. Own it. Accept it. And live it in full. You're in the future. They're not going to understand right away. You're the one who has to accept it. Without hesitation. You're solving a problem. You're answering the demand of necessity. Innovation. You're bringing a solution. It's not supposed to be normal, rehearsed, following a script or a formula. You're the innovator. And people need to see you go first. There's people out there who have the same conviction, the same belief, the same outlook, but they don't have an approach yet, a solution, a form. But in witnessing you, you become the mercy that they were meant to see. Whatever it is that you're meant to do at Aquarius, that's unorthodox. Those who you're used to being around, maybe your family members, friends, they might not be the ones who you were meant to be a messenger for, a humanitarian for, a revolutionary for, a rebel for. It may be complete strangers who need to see you do something different, who need to see you go in another direction that those of your fourth house may not have agreed to or understood or given you their blessing in. Prepare yourself inside now to align with that and to accept it and not reject it. Being a rebel, a revolutionary, that's the only thing that makes sense right now. But a rebel with a cause, a rebel for the cause, not for selfish aims. Black Moon Lilith is going to make you very aware of where you have differences in beliefs about what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to do it. Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius is going to raise up the contrast between you and others that you're familiar with and who's familiar with you. People in your life that you have shared the 8th house with, okay? Because the 9th house is progressive to the 8th house. So people in your life who you shared the 8th house with, there's going to be a war in beliefs. There's going to be pushback. People are going to try to get in your head to change your mind, to make you feel like what you know is true for you is not true. It doesn't make sense. That's not the way we do it. I didn't teach you that. I didn't influence you to that. Or that's not how we showed you or taught you or whatever else. We always do it like this. And there's also a lot of assumptions. You are going to have to go through a 9-month season of rescinding assumptions over you. rescinding judgments over you. And what I mean by assumptions and judgments over you is many people feel entitled to give limitation, status, designation to your identity. And they don't. And it's your responsibility to rescind every bit of it. Because that's your authority, not theirs. It's by your consent, not theirs. You're going to have to show people of the 8th house. Nobody told you to assume what I believe is best for me, is meaningful for me, of what is priority to me, and what fulfillment looks like for me in my life. That's your fucking problem. So you're going to have to consistently rescind. And it's in the house prior to the 9th house, the 8th house, okay? So if you think back to Scorpio Stellium transit, that 9-month season of shadow work, okay? Where in the 8th house, you were dealing with a lot of power struggles, toxic power struggles. And that was all about assumptions and judgments over your identity. It was about obsession and domination over you. So make up your mind now that it's not people necessarily who don't know you that's really presenting this problem. It's people that already know you who have these assumptions and judgments. And you're putting them on notice that I'm going to be authentic from now on. I can't be some act or performance for you. I'm not going to perform for you. I'm not going to try to meet your expectations of me. I'm not going to try to satisfy you and please you and be the person that you're comfortable with me being, that you would prefer to me be. Because then I'm not living for myself. So as the stellium makes conjunctions simultaneously to Pluto, that's where these power struggles take initiation. The power struggles take initiation one by one with all of your personal planets. And that, for example, when the sun conjuncts Pluto, it's like a cazimi. It's just like a cazimi, where it's clarified to you without any fog or confusion where your power is at, how your personal empowerment works, what your connection to truth is, and how to align with it, and how to keep it. It also takes the heart, soul, urge expression, and it has you to overpower and take back power from any type of strongholds that has obstructed you from a full effect, a capacity of full effect with that heart, soul, urge vibration. As an example, let's say your heart, soul, urge vibration is 2. It's you realizing that you're here to heal people, you're here to relate, you're here to nurture. But now you appropriate that number 2 with empowerment to where you're able to show up for others and nurture others, but you're not going to let anybody consume you, attach to you, or emotionally manipulate you because of these faculties that you have that allows you to show up intuitively. Exploiting your emotional sensitivity, taking advantage of you. That's where you appropriate the heart, soul, urge expression for the meaning of your life, for the purpose of your life, and not for the exploitation of others. When Venus crosses Pluto in conjunction, your relationships, okay, you take empowerment towards your life purpose in all of your relationships. Same thing with your 5th house. Your 5th house now belongs to you. That's you taking back power from any inappropriate powers that may block or attempt to struggle with you against your full claim and access to your 5th house. So each planet, it gives power back to you as it conjuncts Pluto, so that as they cross over Pluto into Aquarius, you have full range power with your personal forces. And they automatically are subject to the algorithm of Aquarius. Pluto is out of bounds. So there's no limitations that somebody's going to prescribe to you. Okay, yeah, I get that you're going to do that, but if you're going to do that, you can only do it like this. No, nigga, I'm doing it the way I want to. I'm going to decide how the fuck I'm doing this shit. So it's going to be a lot of hurt feelings. It's going to be a lot of disappointed people. There's going to be a lot of scratching their heads. People up all night, just wondering, damn, what got into him? What got into her? Ain't nobody asked you to have no assumptions over what the fuck I'm doing and why. Who are you? So this addresses the assumptions of control, obsession, domination over you, and it gives that power back to you. This Capricorn new moon initiation of a phase in which we're constructing new infrastructure that answers the demands of Sagittarius Black Moon Lilith transit, which will take 9 months. And so, with this new moon Capricorn, it includes the forces of the Capricorn stellium in the lunar memory, in the lunar intention. And what this really spells out is devotion. It's a devotion of all of your forces, a devotion of your impulses, a devotion of all of your energies, of your personal planets, to commit to a constructive strategy that answers the very uncomfortable demands of Sagittarius Black Moon Lilith transit, which will take 9 months. And what this is the raw truth of the self. It's demanding presence in your life. It's demanding that you facilitate for its expression, for its integration, and for you to identify with that raw truth of yourself. It's parts of yourself that for whatever reason, it hasn't walked with your identity. It's been suppressed. This suppression can't be anymore, because authenticity is what we're focused on. It's the claim of the proper status. It's status correction. The truth of the body, it needs you to take full acknowledgement of what it means for you and what it intends for you in your life. Right now, it could be something that you're ashamed of, you're embarrassed about. You don't feel confident concerning this truth of yourself. It feels out of place, like it came in an unwelcome format, unexpected way. It just appeared here. But yet you have to deal with it. You have to organize it, clean it up, give it dignity, give it form. You have to name it. And you also have to introduce it to all of your intimates in your life. You have to bring it with you everywhere that you go. So you're cleaning it up, you're giving it dignity, and you're giving it a place in the structure of your life as being part of the body of the self, not separate. Not something you do on the side, not something that you do in secret, but bringing it out in the open that this is what I'm about. This is what I'm passionate about specifically, because Sagittarius does explain where your passion is. It's where your zeal is. It's fiery conviction. And your Sagittarius house, the themes of that house, that's where you feel passionate. You come alive through that. You can't have a more lively nature than Sagittarius. So, if we fail to do this, we're just walking zombies that are lifeless. Our vibration is off. We don't walk with an electric or magnetic charge that transfers to other people, that moves spirit. When we learn to do this, our life, it gets set on fire. It's set on fire with passion, conviction, zeal, and a natural flow about our nature that reads authenticity through and through, because that's what Sagittarius is. It's the basis of authenticity within you. It's not there to impress anybody. It's there to take up space, as much space as possible. So, there's going to be people in your life that you're about to disappoint, because people have been used to you showing up a certain way, expressing yourself a certain way that possibly made them more comfortable, made them feel like they could relax around you, got you in the right position that they want you in. it's convenient for them. But this is where you take your life and you make it mean what matches your heart, what matches your convictions in your spirit. And it's parts of yourself that other people are going to have to learn to accept and respect. When the stellium leaves out of Capricorn into Aquarius, every planet in that stellium, it has to greet Pluto. So we know that disillusionment is the first thing that comes with Pluto. But it grounds you. It grounds you in reality. It gets you sober. It gets you anchored in the truth. And when you're connected to the truth in your energies, as it relates to people, Aquarius, as it relates to society, your place in society, your role in society, what's your role among the people where you're supposed to bring influence, service, innovation, a new way, a new approach, a new idea, other than what we have been doing, manifesting the definition of insanity, repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's where you get anchored in that understanding about yourself through disillusionment. Reminding or getting reminded that it's really about the bigger meaning, the humanitarian meaning that's within your reach because of it. You're going to need that Sagittarius energy incorporated into the self for that to make sense, because that's the spirit that you're transferring to other people, the fiery nature that you're transferring to other people of truth. Spirit has to go with this. What Pluto will also do with the stellium, it's going to lend empowerment to each of your inner planets. Empowerment. Empowerment meaning you're going to connect to what potential, effect, and consequence that you could generate at any time from these forces within the crowd of society, within status of society, among others who did not grow up in your household with you. 11th house, obviously. So it's more about looking at what does it mean for me to take this conviction and infrastructure within the self that now incorporates suppressed truth in myself that I have now learned to accept and identify as part of my identity, as part of what my life should look like and consist of, regardless of who likes it or not. Where are the people who need someone like me? Where are the communities, the environments, the institutions, the projects, the services that requires what I embody? Who needs who I am among the people? That's what you're going to start attracting. It's what you're going to start looking for. It's what you're going to become receptive to. It's what you are going to take value in. That somebody needs that eccentric expression of yourself, that unique expression of yourself, the eccentric and unorthodox ideas of yourself, the agreement with yourself to not conform or continue on the traditions of your forefathers or society that you didn't see a forward opportunity in. So you want to look at the house where you have Aquarius. It's about looking at the house. In that house, you're supposed to do the things of that house in a different way, in a way that hasn't been done before. So you're meant to embody an example, a demonstration, an exemplification of what it means to think forward, what it means to innovate, what it means to have solutions for the necessities and demands culturally that we've had. Example, say you have Aquarius in 7th house, okay? You're taking an approach to relationships in unconventional ways, eccentric ways, unorthodox ways that was inspired by limitations that you found in tradition, by contradictions that you found in tradition, that's inspired by problems, burdens, or hypocrisy in traditions. And you found a way to set yourself free from those cycles of futility. You set yourself free. And you did it by claiming who you are through Black Moon Lilith Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius, Black Moon Lilith. You did it by incorporating the shadows of that Scorpio Stellium transit. And you now, through the Capricorn new moon, are structuring your entire reality to reflect your agreement with that eccentric approach, with that unorthodox approach. So this could look like, traditionally in your family, maybe it was for you to only marry a Chinese person, but you found yourself marrying an Italian person. And there are personal convictions, testimonies, experiences, triumphs, struggles that led you to the conclusion that this is what was best. And in observation, other people are seeing you do this and their minds are expanded. They receive revelation just in witnessing you live this out authentically. You could be a person, for example, you could be a man who decides, according to my experiences, according to what I've been through, according to what I've learned and observed, according to my own testimony, it's not for me to have one woman. I'm going to have 2 or 3 or 4. And there's a lot of people who don't agree. There's a lot of people that don't like it, but that's not my problem. I'm here to be authentic. I'm here to be who I am, not somebody else. I'm going to bring it out in the open. I'm going to be myself. And fuck who don't like it. And what that does is it becomes a revelation for every person who has that same testimony. And you're granting them permission to be authentic. You're giving them permission to be their self. You may have Aquarius at the 10th house, and your idea of a career, your idea of status, your idea of how you approach business or corporate opportunities, it may be in a way that it's not traditional. So you're setting a new trend, a new way that nobody has ever thought of, And it becomes a revelation for others who have the same testimony to say, I don't have to continue suffering what I was suffering. Look at what this person did. That's brilliant. I get it now. I can set myself free. I don't have to do exactly what they're doing, but I do see that I have a wide range of options, choices by which I can incorporate a more authentic version of myself by giving myself the same permission. Say you have Aquarius at the second house. You may have an unorthodox way of generating finances. Everybody else wanted you to go the traditional route. Everybody else wanted you to, get the 9 to 5, go to that nifty job that you always had. If I were you, I would have took that career route. I would have went that way. I don't understand why you don't want it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why would you quit that job? So on and so forth. But that's not your calling. Aquarius second house, you're meant to create financial opportunities or a sense of value or self-esteem in unorthodox ways. So you may decide that you're going to go a route that is not necessarily predictable, a route that is not expected of you. Oh, it's innovative in the way that you approach this route. And other people, they don't understand it until you do it. They don't understand it until you demonstrate it. It doesn't make sense to them until they see you put it into action. But once you do, without being ashamed of it, without hesitating, without apologizing, it becomes a revelation, because somebody else who has the same testimony, the same stories of struggles that you have in background that can relate to that, you become the revelation for that person. You become a sign for that person that you don't have to go the traditional way to arrive at an outcome that satisfies you. Let's say you have Aquarius at the 8th house. And at the 8th house, showing up for trauma, making hard decisions, intimacy, where lines of trust is open, where secrets are shared, where you're in position of vulnerability with someone and they with you. And through Aquarius, you've decided that I'm not going to approach this the way that you all have been anticipating or expecting me to, the way that you guys trained me to do it. I have another way of showing up in intimate contracts. So what that can look like is a detached approach to 8th house matters, where you're fulfilling and satisfying the needs of that 8th house connection, but you're not getting consumed by it. You're not indulging. You're not allowing open doors or open windows for toxic attachment to initiate. And it can be offensive to some people until they understand it. But you become the revelation for some who have the same, again, testimony as you do. And they see that there's another approach to intimacy. That just because I'm in an intimate connection with the person, it doesn't mean I have to consume that person has to consume me. It doesn't mean that it has to come with drama and trauma, overwhelm, and emotional drowning of each other. It doesn't mean that there's entitlement over me. And you may come from a tradition where that wasn't the way. So if you notice a pattern here, your testimony is the background of what you're meant to innovate. It's your testimony. What is your testimony of suffering? Your testimony of seeing where necessity is making a demand on you to change something, to innovate something, to come up with something new because this isn't working. Because ultimately, it's Sagittarius that you want to incorporate into the body so that you can feel the fire of life in you. You can't feel the fire of life in you. Your life it doesn't feel meaningful. It's not activated. It has to feel the warmth and fire and conviction of Sagittarius. And you can't feel it. Black Moon Lilith wants you to feel your life like a conviction. You want to be, Black Moon Lilith wants you to be set on fire about your life. So, your testimony tells stories that's compact or compiled with Aries Chiron, okay? Struggles of inadequacies and struggles of feeling unauthorized to initiate in your life, unauthorized to create in your life based on your identity, feeling like it's painful just to be who you really are. Then there's the combination that adds to that of the Cancer Mars self righteous anger transit. Okay, the Cancer Mars righteous anger transit that came from your ancestors, that came from your upbringing, that came from your parents, your guardians, your elders. And you found that you had a lot to heal with your inner child. And you had to bond with your inner child. And what that exposed is how easy it is to betray yourself in order to please others. Or how easy it is to expel yourself from the divine in search of love that you should have had. Then there's the 12th house struggle of undoing. But there was fear, shame, addiction, because you wanted to escape from scrutiny, accountability, because there were secret desires that you had that you felt you were not worthy of. You were not worthy to pursue it. You were not worthy to ask for it. You were not worthy to claim it. You were not worthy to incorporate it as your reality. You didn't feel worthy of what energy is in your 12th house. Not an illumination. So it was the love that was lacking in your life. And because of that, it caused you undoing. It caused you to hit rock bottom, where the truth is. And from that truth, setting you free to access love again through that same energy. Breaking generational curses. Then, of course, we have the transiting South Node, refinement. What does it mean to refine myself? self-improvement, taking account for what I failed to clean up, correct, adjust, heal, getting appropriate in my relationship with Venus, not allowing Venus to distract me, subject me to suffering of addictions, living my life just for gratification, distractions, entertainment, lust, consumerism, lights and glitter, entertainment, fleeting time. The South Node Virgo helped us to find the value in isolation, where we met ourselves and dealt with ourselves, where we address what's going on in the 12th house. Because ultimately the isolation of the number 9 Hermit card, Virgo, South Node, it brings you back to the 12th house. It helps you to rebirth yourself in alignment with illumination of the 12th house, as opposed to the lack of illumination of the 12th house. That's the fruit. Scorpio shadow work, Scorpio Stellium transit, and Black Moon Lilith. Shadow work. Taking ownership of all of the forms of the self. Everything about yourself that's true and that's real, that you suppressed, that you hid away because you wanted to please others. You didn't want to offend nobody. You don't want to lose friends. You don't want to get rejected. You don't want to feel loveless again. All of that together, it's a testimony. It's a story. And that testimony includes suffering that gave you wisdom, accountability, understanding, compassion, sensitivity, empathy, intuition. It loaded you up. And that was the basis of your insight for what you are here to innovate concerning Aquarius. You're supposed to do it different than everybody else did. Never mind the judgment, the criticism, the scrutiny. If you're not offending people, if you're not making them scratch their head and look like, yo, what's this nigga doing? That don't even make sense. Why would you do, if that's not the reaction you're getting, you're not aligned with Aquarius. Pluto is out of bounds. With Pluto out of bounds, taking your power is not something you ask permission for, it's something you fucking do. And it may seem like you're way out there with what you're doing. You're way out there. Like, why you do that? That's how you know you're doing the right thing. The story behind you explains why you're doing it. Your testimony justifies why you're doing this. And your testimony is your witnessing. It's you being a witness to truth. It's you being a witness to wisdom, being a witness to love. And because of that, this is what you created. You offer the world a solution, an innovative liberation for the self by embodying that truth and not running away from it. Somewhere in the family, there has to be a new infrastructure that solves ongoing issues, problems, complications, shortcomings. Answering the necessity out of compassion, not out of annoyance, Not because you want to hurry up and shut somebody up. You want to hurry up and get them out the way. That's coming from the wrong place in the spirit. That's not what the fuck we doing. Out of compassion, what has to be incorporated into the infrastructure of the fourth house? I'm talking about the axis of Capricorn and Cancer. In this generation, we have to actively take the responsibility and leadership being Jupiter in Cancer, over the family. And that doesn't mean that you're the leader of the whole family. It's that you're taking leadership where your conviction, where your compassion, where your empathy shows you that there's something you could do. There's something you can do to improve the legacy of the family. And for some people, you have a destiny with society. So this may apply for your demographic, such as those who have 11th house sun placements, okay? 12th house sun placements, or 10th house sun placements. You know, the context can vary. That also goes with North Node, of course. But somewhere, the compassion is lacking, the empathy is lacking, the advocacy is lacking. And it's not for you to wait for somebody else to show up to bring it. Nigga, you supposed to do it. Where can you use Capricorn stellium conviction and empowerment to answer the problem? It doesn't mean you have to fix everything. You just doing what's in your capacity. But you can't do nothing. You can't just turn your heart off and desensitize yourself. You can't do that. Right now, I want all of us to understand. Get into the bag, get into the dollar, career ambitions. I just want to pay these bills. I just want to close the door and just cut everybody. No, that's not what we're doing. You may have to, for whatever reasons in your life, adjust how you're relating to your family. I get it. But we cannot go into the extremes of cutting off. You can't go to that extreme. There are those cases where it's the only way. But in this season, based on the transiting presence in Capricorn, which began with Mars retrograde, that's not the way. The way is to stay connected through concern, empathy, and a will to advocate where you can. This leadership very well is going to take form in addition to your intentional actions. It's going to take form in you embracing your authentic nature, status, identity, intention, and purpose in life. The Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius is pushing you to make sure that you incorporate something very specific into the walk of your life. And with the testimony behind you, it has arrived you at an innovative solution to corruption and legacy, to limitations and legacy, to backwardsness and futility and legacy. And that's the Aquarius stellium transit. where you're going a different way. You're taking a different approach. You're doing what wasn't done before as a solution. And you're allowing yourself to be a sign of what should happen, of what should be. Because it's not always about teaching, preaching, talking. In fact, majority of the time it's not. It's about what we are willing to demonstrate with the way that we live, with the choices that we make, and what comes of it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سورة الضحى morning light والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى والآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فعوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث صدق الله العظيم. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, by the morning light and by night as it settles. Your Lord did not abandon you, nor did he forget. The hereafter, or the time after the current, is better for you than the first. Capricorn. And your Lord will give you, and you will be satisfied. Did he not find you orphaned and sheltered you? Cancer. And found you wandering and guided you, and found you in need and enriched you. Therefore, do not mistreat the orphan, nor rebuff the seeker.